The national average gas price currently standing at 4.25 right now. We're down about a nickel here locally from what I could tell, at least around my neck of the woods. And our governor says, while she does not support getting rid of the state 27 per gallon tax that we've got on there, she does support getting rid of the sales tax. Would be about 6% on it all. So we'll see where that goes. In fact, she does favor the getting rid of the federal gas tax, which would be about 18 cents a gallon. With us right now to make sense of all the dollars that keep adding up every time you head to the pump, Garrett Soldano here with us right now, running for Michigan running for governor in Michigan. Appreciate you being here with us, Garrett. How are you?
As always, Justin, thanks for having us on your show.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for being here. I wanted to reach out and talk to you because we've seen a lot of back and forth from her on this lately. She supports one but doesn't support the other. And meanwhile, at the end of the day, as somebody mentioned in the live behind-the-scenes live stream earlier in the chat, she still hasn't fixed the roads. So is some of this part of the issue? And where do we go from here? Because people really are feeling the pinch at the pump right now.
Well, again, this is just another example of a silver spoon politician and an elitist losing touch of what is reality, all of us. And I really, truly believe we have two things going on right now. We have somebody who's pushing a green energy narrative. And that's why they're trying to force everybody to go electric and have the pain at the pump be so severe that people say, hey, well, I have to buy electric now, instead of doing common sense solutions. But if we really reflect back over the last 2 years, why we have, states like Florida and Texas and South Dakota and Tennessee and all these other states that are celebrating great years and record years and a mass exodus of people leaving, like California, New York, Michigan, Illinois, and going to these other states with all of their businesses and all their tax revenue, we continue to get hammered down because of, number one, Governor Whitmer's unconstitutional lockdowns, her unnecessary mandates, her locking down our economy for months, and then hammering down on our restaurants at 25% capacity. I can go on and on. Instead of allowing us to be thriving right now, she's still trying to do damage control with everything that she has done. So she has all this COVID relief money from the federal government. And so instead of investing into our roads, instead of investing into long-term energy solutions, she's doing damage control right now. She's trying to undo all the damage and play catch up over the past 2 years. And so she's really painted herself into a corner, because Justin, I agree with you. People are paying on average $200 to $300 more a month right now with inflation and gas prices. And I come from humble beginnings, like a lot of Michiganders, and we understand what that money is and what that feels like at home. That's food on the table for folks. And these elitists with their kind of mentality, well, just go out and buy an electric vehicle. That solves everything. And it's not. It's not going to solve the Michigan's problems right now.
Garrett Soldano, Garrett for Michigan.com. He's running for governor. And one of the things we're looking at is, fixing the roads, which just mentioned, and one of the reasons I suspect maybe this governor doesn't want to do away with the 27 cent per gallon gas tax here in Michigan, the state, is because she actually wanted it more. Right now, you could be paying more when you go to pay pull up at the pump because of the policies, but it was so unpopular before the pandemic. I think a lot of people forget how unpopular she was before she became even more unpopular. She proposed this gigantic leap in gas tax just to fix the roads, and it was shut down all across the board.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere around 45 cents. So imagine that, another almost 50 cents added on per gallon to hammer down on us Michiganders even more than what's going on right now. And look, we can go on and on. Unfortunately, she is the gift that keeps on giving, and she's going to be one of the main reasons why we really clean house in November of 2022. She's still trying to shut down Line 5, which that would cost up to $2.2 billion more a year for gas and diesel. So again, she's not bringing any long-term solutions. She's doing damage control right now. And again, this just proves to all of us out there that we're just done. We're done with these silver spoon politicians and these elitists pushing a narrative, forcing a narrative on all of us. And it's time to get some common sense. And like I've said time and time again, Justin, it's time for ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And we are going to take back our state in November 2022, but we're not holding the line anymore, folks. We're taking back lost ground to get our country back in 2024.
A lot of folks looking at specifically some of these issues that the governor has proposed and some of the things that she's dealing with. I gotta wonder. You hear from people all the time, Garrett. What are the people saying to you that you talk to? I mean, in terms of how they're already hurting, we see the headlines, pandemic causes, half of the third graders to fail their literacy exam. Well, it wasn't pandemic, folks. Let's be real honest about this. It was a failed policies, the people in charge, like the governor, who hid behind politics and polls and things like that, that shut the schools down. Now our kids are suffering. And if we've got the data to prove that, oh, by the way, the mask didn't help. Oh, by the way, shutting the schools down actually did hurt the kids. We know these things for a fact now. What are people saying to you? What are the most important pieces of what they're talking about when it comes to voting this November?
Well, there's two things right now. It's the economy and the schools. And that is why one of the reasons why Virginia was a blue state that turned red. I mean, that's one thing that this governor is very good at, is if you tell a lie long enough, people will start to believe it. I mean, my goodness gracious, she just tweeted this out last night that kids belong in schools. That's why my administration made sure that schools were able to open safely for in-person learning, because we know that students learn better in the classrooms. I mean, this again just shows you that they're out of touch of reality, and they're out of touch with what they've done to these kids. And you're right. All the research, everything that we've been standing up for over the past 2 years, that lockdowns were going to do more harm than good, that mandates didn't do squat to stop the slow and spread of this thing. And the list goes on and on. And there's going to be more research done in the future of the psychological impact and the psychological scars on these young kids. And we have to remember the one who masked up our babies is Elizabeth Hertel, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services director. And those are the things that we're going to have to deal with for decades from now. And so again, this is how important this next election is. And this is how important for everybody to get involved with this election, because they're pushing out a narrative. And Governor Whitmer, she has a war chest right now, I think of $12 to $14 million, and she continues to gain ground on that every day. And when you control the narrative, unfortunately, you control the truth. And so it's time for we the people. It's time for all of us to join together to get involved with our campaign and our run for governor, so we can make Michigan the powerhouse that we all know and believe it can be. And that's just simply, folks, bringing some common sense, long-term solutions to not only our economy, but our school systems, to our way of life. But it's going to take us all joining together and uniting. Yeah. That's what we have to do.
Well, speaking of which, and by the way, I know folks, they just heard you mention that tweet and are probably thinking, what, that can't be real. No, she actually did tweet that. Kids belong in schools. That's why my administration made sure that schools were able to open safely for in-person learning, because we know that students learn better in classrooms. And why didn't she keep them in classrooms? Why did she keep them masked up? Because we knew that masks actually hurt those kids and didn't make a difference when it came to populations that are dealing with COVID. In fact, we knew, we had the data out of Florida, and then Michigan confirmed it. The Health and Human Services here in Michigan actually confirmed this with data earlier this year or last year. It's fundamentally concerning to me when I see, again, as you mentioned, these are lies. This is all revisionist history. And will this play out as we continue to get closer to the election here in November? How much will we hear and be told, no, I didn't do that. I didn't do the pandemic did that. She was riding like Biden. She's been hiding like Biden in the basement, in the bunker. And now we're starting to see her come out and mention some of these other things. One of the things she's done, and a very poor job of, is one of the things she planned to do. She said in the beginning, she's going to be transparent. We're going to be able to hold her accountable. She ran on that. And there hasn't been much. I mean, her policies and what she's done has been transparent. You can see right through it. But at the end of the day, is anybody really being able to hold her accountable? You've got the worst of the big three. We're talking about her, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of State. And it doesn't really seem like anybody wants to hold their feet to the fire.
No, and that's why when I debate her, it should be a pay-per-view event, because of what's going to happen on that stage. You're not going to beat Governor Whitmer on saying who can fix the gosh darn roads better. It's going to be accountability time. And that's why I'm the candidate to hold her accountable, because I've been standing up and fighting against everything that she has done over the past 2 years. And so when we do debate her, it will be accountability time for everything that she has done and everything that she continues to do. And we're going to have our day, folks. I guarantee it.
What will you do to hold folks accountable? I'm seeing right now in the chat, this is always a question that comes up, and I think very important. Thousands died. What will you do to hold her accountable for the similar policies that Cuomo and Newsom and Wolf and some of these other handful of Democrat governors had, where they took these sick folks out of hospitals, sent them into nursing homes, and it really introduced that virus to those congregate care centers, literally infecting thousands and killing many as well. I mean, what will you do to make sure that those policies, she's held accountable, and that we know everybody that died, and of course have the accurate total and the numbers?
Well, that's one thing for sure, is let everybody know this is very personal to me. I've been around the state many, many times, and I've talked to these people whose parents and grandparents have died alone in these nursing homes, and they didn't die of COVID, they die of isolation. And this is my vow, is I'm going to find out and get to the bottom. And if there was intent in putting COVID infected people in the nursing homes for a larger agenda, then those accountable will be held responsible, because we all deserve to know the truth. And that's how important it is, folks, to get involved in these next elections, because we have to get the terrible three, the mean girls, out of Lansing, because it's going to take us all to do just that. So you have to get involved. You have to become a licensed election inspector. You have to continue to circulate these petitions to get these things done. There's so many things going on right now, but you can no longer sit on the sidelines. You can no longer sit on the bleachers. You have to get out on the field with us. And that's how we, the people, are going to have our day. And we together will make Michigan the powerhouse that we all know and believe it can be.
Let me ask you about this. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm checking in behind the scenes live stream right now in the chat here. And I believe it is Chatter HW who said she couldn't do something as simple like fixing the roads. We should all bombard her Twitter with pothole pics. Where do you stand on that, Garrett? And if you just Googled Michigan pothole memes, I'm not saying to do this, but that's where you could find plenty of ammunition.
I tell you what, absolutely 100%. We should all make these things go viral. So wherever you're at in the state of Michigan, feel free to bombard.
Make sure you tag
Governor Whitmer. Let's start sharing pothole pictures. You know what? And that's how we do this, because, the corporate media is not going to report on any of this. The corporate media is not going to report on the suicides resulting from the lockdowns and the elderly and everything else that's gone. I mean, it seems like our whole state's on fire right now. And this dumpster fire has been going on for years. And so it's time to circulate the information. It's time to get that out, because that's important. People deserve to know the truth. And so that's the power of social media. If corporate media is corrupt and they're not going to report on this stuff, it's time for all of us to continue to share the stories of hospital protocols. It's time to share the stories of the elderly homes. It's time to show pictures of the potholes. It's time to show pictures of abandoned buildings and restaurants and other businesses that went out. Let's get the truth out there, because that's all we want, is truth and transparency. And that's one thing that I'm going to do in the state of Michigan. It's going to be a knockdown, drag out, fist fight in a phone booth, but I'm going to bring back truth and transparency. And I really believe it's my job to get our faith back in our government. And I'm going to lead that charge, and we're going to get it done.
Garrett from Michigan.com. Appreciate you being here and taking the time to talk about it. It is a pretty astounding thing, Garrett, that while she shut the state down, she didn't fix the potholes, but you could still buy pot in the pot stores while your kids were locked out of school, businesses were closed down, and much more. It really is something. Thanks for being here with us. Appreciate you. God bless, my friend.
My honor. God bless you.
Talk to you soon. Garrett from Michigan.com.